Most window cleaning businesses don't get stuck because the owner can't clean windows. Most of them get stuck because the owner can't find good people who actually show up, do good work, and care about the customer. And once you start hiring the wrong people, it doesn't just cost you payroll, it costs you customers, reviews, referrals, reputation, and honestly, your sanity. At a certain point, your business doesn't scale because you're better at cleaning windows. It scales because you're better at finding, training, and keeping good people. So in this video, I'm gonna show you how we find, vet, hire, and onboard good people at Reach Window Cleaning. And this isn't theory, this is exactly what's worked to hire a ton of people in my business. I've learned a ton about the hiring process over time because in the fall at Reach Window Cleaning, we have to hire 7 to 8 new technicians for Christmas lights and window cleaning. For us, that's our busiest time of year for cleaning. So as we get into Christmas lights, we just have to add trucks, we have to add people. So we've had to get really good at hiring a bunch of people at once. If we didn't have a good system in place for hiring, all of that would be a disaster. This is the system that I wish I had when I was stuck myself doing everything. Most window cleaners I've seen, they hire out of desperation. So they get slammed with work, the phone is ringing, jobs are on the schedule, and the owner is tired and overwhelmed. And then what they do is they hire the first person that comes through the door that looks halfway decent because they need the help. Believe me, I've done that, and I promise you it usually ends the same way. So here's how it goes. You'll hire somebody who's probably not a good fit, you'll train them, they'll probably no-show a lot, they'll quit, they kill your customer experience, and then you start all over again. As the owner, you'll get burnt out and you'll start to think things like, oh, nobody wants to work anymore, I can't find good people anymore, and that's just simply not true. The truth is that people do want to work, you just have to have a good hiring system in place in order to find the right people. Here's the thing that nobody tells you when you start a service business, it's that your employees are your product. The customer doesn't see you half the time, or maybe they'll never see you again once you hire technicians. They see whoever it is that you send to your house, so that person is your brand. And this is why when we hire people, we want super high standards within our business. So they're gonna have clean uniforms, they're gonna have a clean wrapped truck, they're gonna respectfully communicate and quickly communicate with customers, they're gonna show up on time, they're gonna protect the customer's home, they're gonna do quality work, they're gonna get great reviews, and most importantly, they're gonna create repeat customers. A great tech doesn't just do a good job of cleaning windows, they do a good job of protecting the brand, they protect the customer experience, and most importantly, they help create reviews, referrals, repeat business, and a lot of times service plan opportunities. While a bad hire, it does the complete opposite. And this is exactly why more leads is not always the answer inside of your business. A lot of guys think, oh, if I just got more leads, if I just did more marketing, everything would be solved. But if you can't fulfill the work with good people, more leads is just gonna equal more stress inside your business. So if every time you sell more work, you panic because you don't have the capacity to actually fulfill it, you don't just have a marketing problem, you have an operations problem. I remember my very first employee that I ever hired, he was the first person I ever interviewed, didn't really take time to do an interview process or anything. I just hired him on the spot because I really needed him and I was getting super busy. And I remember we got a couple weeks into his training, he finally passed off his training and we were working together in the field. And then as soon as his training was over, it was a Monday morning, we had a huge day on the schedule and he no-showed. So I texted him, called him, he didn't say anything. I went and did the jobs myself that day. I remember working till it was dark that day and just trying to get through the day because we had so much scheduled because it was supposed to be for 2 guys. And the next day, he did again, he didn't show up, I never heard from him, and he finally texted me back and told me he was quitting. So I felt like I'd put all this effort into training him, I had been relying on him, I'd scheduled out these busy days for him and myself, and then he just didn't show up and he quit, and I was back at square one because I didn't have a good hiring process. So that's when you realize that one bad hire doesn't just make one bad day, it can throw off your entire schedule. It can hurt your customer experience, and it can pull you right back into the truck or into a place where maybe you're already in the truck, but now you're super overwhelmed because you have too much work for one person. So if your goal is to get out of the field and finally get off the truck, hiring is one of the most important skills that you can ever learn within your business. The main place that we've typically used for hiring is Indeed. It gives us a ton of volume. it's local, and it gives us a way to filter applicants before we ever have to go and actually interview them. But the mistake that most people make is that they just throw up some random AI generated job post and then they wait for applicants to come in. That's not really a hiring strategy, it's just hoping that the right person comes through. So what we do is we treat our job post just like we would any other marketing. We treat it like a sales page. It needs to attract the right person and it needs to repel the wrong person. So what a bad job post looks like would be whatever we need from them. So it'd say window cleaner needed, we need you to be able to lift 50 pounds, we need you to not be a drug addict, we need this and that from you. While a good job post, it tells people exactly what the job is and what kind of person actually thrives here. So we're not trying to get 100 applicants, we're trying to get a few who are actually a good fit. And we want to focus on what's in it for them and not what we need from them. We're also not going to try to make the job easier than it sounds, because when you do that, it creates pretty quick turnover. So if it's hard work, go ahead and let them know in the job post that it's hard work, which window cleaning is. If they need to be outside most of the day, let them know that they'll be outside most of the day. If they need to be at the shop at say 7 a.m. or 7:30, you need to put that in the job post as well so that there's no surprises. So one thing that we try to do in our job post is make it very clear what's in it for them, but also a few of what we would expect from them. So you can say things like, you can be a part of a team that takes pride in their work, you will be appreciated, you can grow with a fast growing company, you can earn more through performance pay if you're a good employee who's efficient. I'd rather hire someone with no experience who is coachable and has a good attitude than someone with experience who complains, shows up late, or brings down the team. The job post should make the wrong person think, that kind of sounds like too much. And that's good, because I want them to filter themselves out and not even apply. So here's how we vet applicants before they ever actually come in for an interview. And most owners skip this step. They get an application and every single person who applies, they just invite them for an interview, which if you do this will end up wasting a ton of your time. So for us, for every single person who fills out an application, we send them a quick automated message that invites them to take a quick 5-minute personality test. But we like HireBus, you could even create your own with AI, or there's a lot of personality exams out there that are free or lower cost. HireBus scores people from 0 to 10 on how good of a fit they would be with their personality on certain roles within a home service company. So for example, the roles that they have in there would be like an office manager, a lead technician, general labor, etc. So they take this personality test and then it'll tell us from 0 to 10 based on their personality, how good of a fit they are for that exact role. So this does a great job of weeding out bad people whose personality are not a good fit for that role that they're applying for. So first off, about half of the people who apply on Indeed aren't actually gonna fill out the assessment, or they won't be able to figure out how to like copy it and paste it into their browser so that they can take it. So they're automatically showing us that they're not very good at problem solving if they can't get to the assessment. Then about half of the people who take the assessment don't actually score very well. HireBus isn't perfect, but it's a good gauge to start to weed people out. So hopefully you can see how we go from 50 applicants to maybe 25 who actually filled out the thing, and then maybe like 12 of them scored well. So what we do is we only invite people for an interview who score 7 or higher on the exact thing that they're applying for. So if we're down to maybe 10 people left, we'll invite all of them for an interview, and usually about half of them don't show up. So now we're down to about 5 people. Those 5 people who show up, usually about half of them don't interview well. So that's how we're down to now 2 or 3 actual good applicants. So once they actually do show up for the interview, here's a few of the things that we're looking for to make sure that they're gonna be a good fit. Skills is something I can teach, whereas like a bad attitude, I cannot fix that. It's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned in hiring is looking for good attitude over everything else. As I said before, I'd rather hire somebody with no experience who shows up with a good attitude and wants to work hard than hiring somebody with experience just because it would be a little bit more convenient to not have to train them. In fact, most of the experienced guys that I've hired over the years have not lasted. They tend to be the type of people who always think that the grass is greener at the next company. And the people that I've had stay with me for 3, 4, 5 years were all people with no experience when I hired them, and we just trained them up and then taught them our ways. So here's a few things that I observe before the interview even begins. Did they show up on time? Did they communicate maybe if they're running a little bit late? I understand things happen, but they need to tell me if they're running late. Are they dressed like they actually care? Do they make eye contact with me? Do they actually seem engaged with me when I'm giving them an interview? Do they act like this is a good opportunity and they're excited for it? The interview is not just about their answers, it's about how they actually show up. because how they show up to the interview is probably how they're going to show up to day-to-day work. Here's a few of the interview questions that we've used over time that have helped a lot to weed out people. Tell me about a time that you had a conflict with a coworker or a manager and what happened. Tell me about a time when you had to solve a tough problem and how you solved it. How do you handle feedback when somebody tells you that you did something wrong? What do you feel like is your biggest strength in a team environment? Where do you see yourself in 2 years? What kind of work environment do you do best in? One of the biggest things that I'm looking for is coachability. Can this person take direction? Can they handle being corrected? Can they be told, hey, this isn't good enough, and actually fix it? Because window cleaning is a learning curve. Working with and around customers is a learning curve. Representing a good, clean brand is a learning curve. And if someone can't be coached, that learning curve never ends. So what a great tech will actually do for you is they'll show up on time. They'll keep your trucks clean. They're going to wear their uniform correctly. They're always going to wear the uniform. The uniform is going to be clean when they start their day. They're going to respect customers' homes. They're going to communicate well with customers. They're going to do quality work. They're going to take positive and negative feedback. They're going to get review. They're going to help create repeat customers. They're going to notice opportunities to upsell. And most importantly, they're just going to make your company look professional, and it's going to feel great to have them in a customer's home. So this is why attitude matters so much. I've hired so many people who have never cleaned a window in their life and didn't even know how to clean a window who turned out to be great employees. I've also hired people with experience that seemed like they were going to be great, but they had bad attitudes and it turned out to be a disaster. Attitude, reliability, and coachability are always the foundation for us when we hire. All right, so now you have a great idea of how we actually hire, but the onboarding process is just as important as hiring so that we keep people long-term. So we have a lot of this built already, but it's always improving because as the company grows, our systems always have to become better. What works for you for training when you have 1 truck doesn't necessarily work when you have 10 trucks. The first day that a technician is working matters more than people think. First impressions go both ways. So if a new hire shows up and everything seems unorganized, nobody knows what they're supposed to do, and they don't understand the standards of your company, you're probably already losing them. So what Reach does on day 1 is the employees are just watching training videos. So we've put together a whole training course, mostly YouTube videos, some that we've had to create our own, where they're watching videos on how to do everything about the entire job. So think like how to do a straight pull, how to do an S-curve, how much soap to use, what all the tools are, like everything you can think of, we've put videos in there so that they have a general understanding of the job and what's going on before they ever actually get out in the field. Then day 2, they're gonna have a ride along with an experienced tech who's gonna train them over the course of the next 2 weeks. We have clear expectations for them on start time, their uniform, phone policy, customer communication, and the quality standards that we have. We show them what good work looks like. We show them what a clean work truck looks like. We show them how to talk to customers and how to take payments, etc. And then at the end of their first week, we'll check in with them and see if anything's confusing, if anything doesn't make sense, etc. Our goal is to have a technician trained up and ready to go out on their own within their first 2 weeks. One of the biggest onboarding mistakes that I see businesses make is just throwing somebody in a truck and hoping that they'll just figure it out. You hired them, now you gotta invest in them. The cost of hiring and retraining a new technician every 30 days is vastly higher than just doing it right in the first place and being able to keep people around. You cannot expect somebody to meet a standard that you never clearly explain. So that's on us as the owners to explain it correctly. One of the biggest hiring mistakes that I made early on was only hiring when I actually needed people. But by the time you need someone, you're already desperate, and that's when you usually just hire the first person that comes in the door. The best time to find your next great hire is before you actually need them. If you wait until the schedule is packed and your current guys are already maxed out, then you're probably gonna lower your standards just to be able to get through the month. So you don't have to necessarily spend any money on Indeed, but you always want to keep your postings active so that you constantly have applicants coming in. If you had good past applicants and you just weren't ready for them, it's a good idea to just send them a message once a month and just see how things are going. If you're out and about, maybe with your family, you're going to eat food or whatever, and you notice some really good service, always have a business card on you that you can just give to somebody and say, hey, if you're ever looking for a new job, give me a call. Another great place where you can find great employees is asking your employees if they know somebody who might be a great fit. Over the years, we've hired a ton of brothers, cousins, friends, family, etc. and those have turned out to be great employees for us. So the key to all of this is don't wait until you're desperate to start looking for your next employee. When you hire from a place of abundance, when you actually have options, you make better decisions. Whereas when you hire from a place of desperation, when you really need somebody tomorrow, you'll make compromises with hiring that you're gonna regret later. So thanks for staying to the end. That is exactly how we hire and keep good people here at Reach. If you like this type of content and you want to see more window cleaning content in the future, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next video.